Eileen Forrestal, welcome to the Star Coach Show.
Well, thank you, Meg. I'm delighted to be here.
I'm delighted to have you here. So, for those of you who are just listening and aren't watching us on YouTube, Eileen has this beautiful green background in her native Ireland, and it just makes me envious just watching the breeze float through the trees, and it's just lovely. So, um, delighted to be with you as you are in Ireland, one of my ancestral places, and super excited. And we're going to talk about today. You wrote this beautiful book, The Courage to Shine. Find your voice and discover the healing power of your words. And I was expressing to Eileen in our exploratory call together that what drew me to her was that as coaches, we help people find the power of their words. We use words, our clients' language in our discussions with them. We know about the power of language. Now, I had done my exploratory call with Eileen before I read her book. And then I ordered her book and read her book. And it's such a beautiful account of your journey through your life and trauma that occurred and how that impacted and choices that were made. So then when we got on the call this morning or this afternoon for you, I was like, let's just talk about your journey in life and the choices and how we all make choices and how our clients make choices and how those choices impact our lives and then how awareness and self-acceptance made some changes in your life. I just, so you said, sure, I'm open to talking about that. And let's start maybe with just sort of the concept of you go from medical doctor to author and you're in publishing now, but you spent 20 years, I think your expression, I don't have it written down. You spent 20 years putting people to sleep through being an anesthesiologist. And now your goal is to wake people up and to have them fully embrace their life. Did I get that sort of right? How would you express that?
Yeah, I think you expressed that perfectly.
Ugh.
It was an interesting, it is quite a dramatic shift. I have been kind of reminded of that before, the kind of the irony and obviously the opportunity. So I do love that tagline myself.
Yeah, it's just, it speaks so much to how has this been so many people that we work with and coaches themselves often go through this life transition. Yeah, I was a psychotherapist for over 20 years and realized that I needed to make a shift to both fulfill sort of what I wanted to do as a professional as well as to have sort of the impact. I wanted people to have healthier work environments. How could I do that? Well, maybe I'll become an executive coach and go in and help leaders understand what they're doing. So there was a reason behind my shift. There was a reason behind your shift. Let's start with maybe what led you to determine I have a book inside of me. I have a book inside of me that needs to speak. It needs to be heard. What led you on that journey?
Well, it never occurred like I had a book. It always occurred like I had something to say, but given my sort of story, I never had the courage to say it. I didn't have the courage to speak up. So the background is obviously I had a stammer for most of my life, certainly all of my young life, and it started when I was 3. So I had an accidental overdose of aspirin, and obviously had a stomach washout, and the story in my family goes, obviously, trying to get my words out and then coughing and kind of retching and choking, trying to get my words out. And obviously it completely interfered with my speech development. So I went through the rounds of, speech therapists and child psychiatrists and all of this while I was little. And then they ended up taking out my tonsils and that didn't help. So I was getting more and more frustrated in not being able to, express myself. And I would get excited and I would, everything was very interesting. And I'd be trying to get the words and none of the words were coming out. They were all getting stuck somewhere. So when I was a teenager and in school, it was just very traumatic. And just in school, it was kind of embarrassing. And people were, I thought they were sort of sniggering or they were laughing or something. And I thought, you know what? I'm not going to do it anymore. Stop.
Forget it. I'm
Stop.
just not going to talk.
I'm
You
done.
can't make me.
You can't make me. I'm done.
And
So
that was a choice, a choice. Now, one of the other things that I got a sense of, and please correct me if I'm wrong, is that there was this frustration, but there was also this anger about the circumstance or anger that you are going through this. And that almost seems sort of counter to who you were naturally. And yet it was something that was a choice that was like kind of more empowering. Fine, I'll be angry about it. I'm just curious if that resonates with you at all.
I don't think it's hard to go back now to remember, but I don't think at the time
Right.
it was kind of really deliberate. It was almost like the
Mm-hmm.
only way out, I thought, of the kind of the trap that I was in,
Uh-huh.
just to say nothing. So it didn't really occur like, oh, it's a choice to say nothing. It's like it
Okay.
occurred like the only thing. And then it worked. So it
People
worked.
left you alone.
Well, they let me alone. And I also kind of noticed as soon as I had stopped trying, everything silenced about myself. My heart rate would kind of come back down to normal. My
Ah,
tongue could, it could stay stuck to the roof of my mouth. It didn't really matter because I didn't have to do anything. So to me, it was like a relief. So the silence and stopping, kind of withholding what I was saying became a relief from the anxiety. So it didn't really seem like, oh, I'm going to choose to do this, but it just
okay.
like it was really a relief from the anxiety. And then I could manage the anxiety because I didn't have to, I could do anything else. I wasn't worried about anything else except how the words are going to come out. And
Right. So
don't worry
that
about
brought
that.
your anxiety down, brought your heart down. And yet there was a cost to that. What was the cost to, yes, I have less anxiety, but who hurt Eileen?
Well, that's it. I don't think I really was present to the cost for many years, to be perfectly honest.
Okay.
I think I managed, like I had figured out a way to hide. And people wonder about medicine, because I said I was going to do medicine. It was the longest course in college, I figured, and that would give me enough time to calm down. But my course, career guidance teachers and various other people, she can't be a doctor. She won't be able to talk to patients. You can't do medicine. And I thought, no, 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 just give me
I can do it. I can do
give
it.
me 7 years. Just give me 7 years. I'll do it, right? So I kind of went in, but then I managed to kind of hide all my way through medicine. You didn't have to do anything. I realized you can actually get away with life and not say much at all. So I
Isn't
could
that
certainly be okay
interesting?
with like one-on-one and things that weren't what I would say stressful situations, but anything that was looking like there was more than three people, then it wasn't going to happen. But I managed, and then I had a very, very kind of busy life because I was doing kind of anything and everything other than speaking. So even though it seemed like I had this like really big life, I was traveling, I was doing like all these kind of crazy things, which were, but anything but the speaking. And then I kind of realized at some point, it's like there's something missing here, all this that I'm doing, but like I'm not really making any, you know, impact
Impact?
anywhere. I'm just silent. It just seemed like it was kind of pointless, staying silent. And I was so upset with the state of the world. Like I had such opinions about the world and how it was and how it shouldn't be the way it was and how there shouldn't be war and how there shouldn't be all this hunger and all
Right.
this. Because I traveled the world. I saw what it was like. And I thought it shouldn't be like this. The world is very unequal. And it's very, really, honestly, there's plenty of money. Why are we not kind of sharing it out a little bit better? So anyway, that was the kind of thing. So then I kind of realized, there was a cost to staying silent. And
Okay.
my
But the
experience,
cost, that's very interesting because your cost was not necessarily personal. It was sort of global. I mean, like you wanted to be able to express the inequities or the injustices or it was like this is broken and I need to be able to say how broken it is. I love that is like what bubbled up inside you, what began to create that cost was something bigger than yourself.
yeah, I think so. And it was like just when somebody offered me an opportunity to kind of like, assess, like get very comfortable in the status quo. It didn't cost me financially. I was very well off. I was very successful in my career. But until somebody really kind of said, what was the cost in your self-expression? What was the cost really in this? And what did I have to kind of look at? And what did I have to deal with? And what fear did I have to deal with? And what
Mhm.
was it that I wasn't saying? And what was the source of all of this kind of anger? And then, of course, you do the kind of the work and you realize it's nothing that you thought it was. It's always something different hidden in the background. So that was more of the journey.
So what did you have to do once you First of all, I'm sure some people are like, well, how did you become a successful doctor by when choosing not to talk? I mean, how did you balance that?
Well, because medicine is a very academic specialty, and you just have to be able to communicate on an academic level. So,
Okay.
I could pass exams, no problem.
Hmm.
And as I said, I could obviously deal with patients, so I could listen. So I could hear
Okay.
what's going on, and then I could order a lot of tests. I could interpret the tests, and then I could, come up with whatever the diagnosis, whatever it was. Like there wasn't a lot of communication to be done apart from listening. So I was certainly very well trained in listening. And then,
And I'm willing to bet it made you a great doctor. I mean, think about the fact that you listened more than you spoke. I don't know that that's, the norm for somebody who's sort of in a place of, this is my expertise and I know. So maybe often in a place of talking more than listening. And it doesn't surprise me that listening more than talking made you a great doctor.
yeah, and I really discovered I did some psychiatry and general practice, but psychiatry particularly was fascinating when you listened. To the internal worlds of some people when it came out of their mouth. It was really, really interesting. And then you kind of realize that people, sometimes who weren't, distraught or whatever, they also said things that you were kind of interesting when you listened,
Right,
like things that maybe weren't necessarily true, but they believed they were true.
right.
So I was listening. And then, of course, I chose anesthesia. So everybody was asleep anyway. So, and that's kind of where I settled then into the 20 years of sort of anesthesia. And I kind of just settled into that. And I said my expression then was in other areas, not in kind of myself. But then when I came down to maybe writing the book, when I got involved in entrepreneurship, and I actually left medicine and got involved in entrepreneurship, and I got involved in kind of there was another way outside the academic sort of silo that I had been in. And I was kind of exhausted from one pair of hands and one patient at a time. And I thought, is there a way to harness words that you could actually impact more people with words, meeting a wider audience, hence being on podcasts such as yourself, Meg. Thank you.
Well, and thank you. So I'm sitting here thinking she speaks so eloquently. You obviously have overcome the stammer. What was the process of you're talking a lot about the awareness that evoked within you that maybe gave you permission, but I'm just wondering, what was Eileen's journey from stammer to being on podcasts all over the world?
It was literally overcoming. It was the anxiety was pointless. The anxiety was stopping me. It wasn't that I was stammering. It was that I was afraid I was going to stammer. So I didn't
Hmm.
show up. I just said no, no. No was a very easy word to say. No. And don't make me because
Hmm.
you can't. So, but then when I started to say yes, maybe, and the first talk that I gave, which was very interesting because I was doing a climb for Kilimanjaro. So I was doing a climb. It was with an organization called Child Aid, and it was for victims of the Rwanda genocide back there in the 90s and 2000. And there was a local school, and they said they would do a sponsored silence for me as way of fundraising. So I thought that was interesting, sponsored silence. But then they said, but will you come back to the school and tell us about your trip? And I thought, okay, it's like, oh dear. So that was
Hmm.
me kind of going back, 30 years later into a school to speak to a class of 16 and 17-year-olds about a trip that I had taken to Kilimanjaro and then into the slums in Nairobi and the schools and, interacting with all the children in the schools, and I could speak about education and how, here the kids we kind of throw it away. It's like, oh yeah, sure, we all get that. And they're completely hungry for anything, any morsel of education. So, and I just managed like the class actually like, I mean, they listened. They thought it was like amazing. And I thought, oh my goodness, I've actually impacted a class of teenagers. That's like pretty cool.
That's really
So,
cool. That's a tough audience. I can say from being a therapist for adolescents for years, adolescents are a tough audience.
yeah, but I was just telling the story. I was just telling them what I did,
Yeah.
what it was like, and how, I mean, climbing Kilimanjaro for for somebody who wasn't particularly a climber, who was an ex-smoker. Like that was something. But but I learned a lot on the mountain as well. You learn a lot of people when you take a lot about yourself when you take on challenges like that are bigger than yourself. When you take on a mountain like Kilimanjaro, it's bigger than yourself, I promise you. And I
Yeah.
kept on. Yeah. So
So you realized it's the story that I'm telling myself, or it's the anxiety that I have that is stilling my tongue, that is making it so difficult to get my words out.
yeah.
Um, and I'm sure it wasn't like flipping a switch and all of a sudden, oh, I realize this, so I'm just going to chatter along. But it was a journey of self-acceptance. And you say in your book, self-acceptance is the first step. So you've done all these challenging things in your life. You tapped into your strengths. I'm a great academic. I'm a um what do you want people to take away about your journey of self-acceptance?
Well, like I said, I was so comfortable with saying no. So I was just comfortable with, refusing things that I thought were going to be, you know, risky. And I think there's an acceptance that actually you're a very able and capable person. So the chances are, if you say yes, you might be able to do the thing they're asking you. Otherwise, they wouldn't be asking you.
Oh,
So
so good.
it came a little bit like, well, if somebody suggested or asked me to do something, instead of my usual no, thank you, it's like, okay, I can give that a go, or I'll try, or yes, I'll do it. So it's that shift in saying, I'm a pretty accomplished human being. Yes, I have been, anxious about things in the past, and I have lots of reasons why I shouldn't do this. However, you could see a little bit beyond. It might actually help somebody else. It might help me to overcome some, fear that I have, like parachute jump. I tell you, that was one thing. It was like, okay. And guess what? It was fantastic. So then you have more things to add to your list of accomplishments that you've actually
Yes.
done that you kind of denied yourself. So it's kind of accepting that there are opportunities there yet to be availed of. There, we're all capable really of much the same things on this planet. I say there isn't anybody particularly any bigger or smaller than anybody else, give or take a few inches. And yeah, I think it's really, to me, the message is about courage. It's about the courage to say yes. I think
Yes.
that's the thing. It's like, accepting an invitation or accepting, an opportunity, or if somebody says, do you want to consider this? And it's so easy to say, no, I've got too much to do. No, I'm doing this. But like, oh yeah, what if I said yes to that? Like, what would that be like? Like, because really my thing is about having a big life. It really is about the experience of having a big life. We will be a long time dead. And, you've been to graveyards and you see the date and then the dash between the two dates, right? And you think there's a dash in there. It's like, but not be in a hurry to get to, from either end, but like
Right.
really, it's in the middle.
What did we do with the dash?
What do we do with the dash? Yeah. So,
Yeah. I love that perspective shift, that like I could say I could continue to say no. It's safer. It feels, all the what ifs that can hold us back. And yet you made a decision. Yeah, but if I looked at it from this direction, if I looked at what I could gain or what I could offer others, or what I could learn, what I could add to my many accomplishments, by saying yes, what would this yes bring in the way of possibility rather than in the way of scary, like hold me back kinds of things. Love, love, love that.
yeah.
Um, let's talk about how you discovered the healing power of your words. What was the healing power for you?
Okay, well, that was an interesting thing. When I put that tagline on the
Yeah.
on the book, I thought, God, have I discovered the healing power of words, And but really, yeah, because what I had to kind of face a lot of my, when you talk about the anger and the frustration in having the stammer, I really I took it all out on my mother. It was like she was the person that got to listen to me most of all. She was an amazing listener. And, I could come in and I could offload like a million and one things to her, about the state of the world, about whatever, about what was going, just about everything, everything, everything. And then, but in the back of my mind, and what she would probably always be trying to encourage me to do would be to, have more, we'll say, courage in the areas where I wasn't doing it, because I had all the reasons as to why I shouldn't. And I was sort of thinking, well, it's your fault. You left out the tablets. Now, I didn't say it directly, but there was kind of this thing
Right.
where he was kind of saying, oh, it's like my fault, if you hadn't had the stammer, because there was always the question of, they thought I would go into, politics or public life or whatever. And of course, I wouldn't do that. So, ma'am, because of my sort of public awareness and my awareness of the world, ma'am was saying, why are you in politics? And why aren't you in this? And you should be a barrister. I'm thinking, yeah, right. How would that work? So there was
Because
that.
I took these children's aspirin, and that's when you said she left out the tablets. You're talking about, when you were 3, you thought they were candy. So
Oh,
it's yeah.
absolutely. I went looking for them. I mean, I found them in the top shelf. It's like there
So
wasn't
it's
much
not like they were
for me.
laying down where a
Not
3-year-old could
like they
find
were
them.
laying down, but once you find them, and of course you have this like pretty, awful scenario. Of course, my mother was like, "Oh my God, I shouldn't have left them on the top shelf of the cupboard. I should have known Eileen could have made her way up to the top shelf." But so she had that kind of guilt. So I kind of played on that, like, it's like, well, what do you expect? This is the way. So I think in a way that was my kind of lesson, was really around like forgiveness. It's like, oh my goodness, really, she really wasn't out to get me when I was little, when
Right.
she let them take my tonsils out, and when she let them pump my stomach, it's like she wasn't deliberately trying to hurt me. So I kind of had to go back a little bit and say, oh my goodness, Mom, thank you for saving my life. I've had a fantastic life. I'm a really healthy person. I have a really nice life. Thank you so much. So there was a shift there. And I think really she was absolved then of a lot of that guilt, because she thought I was unhappy because I wasn't able to express myself. So it occurred like everything I was doing was like wrong. And so I think when it turned like everything I was doing was pretty right all along. Thank you very much, Mom.
Right. Thanks for my
Just
life. Thanks for
time.
being,
Yeah.
yeah.
It
Thanks for
just
loving me. And
exactly.
thank goodness you got to that place where you could actually express that to her.
Hmm.
Being, a former therapist, I can say there's many a time that I was working with somebody in therapy because they didn't get that opportunity before their loved one passed, to be able to say, to be able to kind of clear the air, to be able to have those healing words together.
Hmm. Yeah. And look, it is a gift, to be able to. But I say it doesn't often, like I had to deal with it a little bit as well, because my dad was in on it. He let them. He let her. He let her let them take my tonsils out. It was like a little bit mixed up. But it was
I
interesting.
actually love the story in the book where you said you go in as, like, how old were you when you got your tonsils out?
Oh,
Like
6 or 7, 6, I think.
6 or
6,
7, that's what I
yeah,
was thinking.
6 and a
And
half.
you had a friend there that was also there to get her tonsils out, and she said, "I'm here to get my tonsils out," and you were like, "Oh, I'm not." So,
I'm not. They
again,
told me I'm on
that's not why I'm
holiday.
here. Yeah.
Exactly. They told me I'm on holiday. I'm not having my tonsils out. Like that's what and as far as I was concerned, I had obviously explained it was nothing to do with the tonsils. I knew where the tonsils were. They were looking all the time in the back of my throat. I said, that's not where the words are getting stuck. I can tell you that.
Yeah,
But
it's all good. I don't need to, you can leave those in there. That has
all good.
nothing
They're,
to do
they're,
with
they're okay.
anything.
They're not coming out. So was I mad when I woke up with no
Yeah,
tonsils?
another reason to
Honest,
be angry.
furious.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, that's where I was really, really angry. I remember my aunt brought in a doll. I swear to God, I broke that doll into pieces and I flung that doll everywhere. It's like I will not be bought off with trifles. Nor did I.
I was supposed to be on holiday, and look at what you did to me. Yeah.
You betrayed me. You lied to me. I mean, honestly, I was quite, which actually really helped in my anesthetic career, because the amount of parents that brought their children for surgery, and I was saying to beforehand, so what's going to happen? And they'd say, oh no, we haven't told her. Excuse me. I said,
Yeah.
you need to tell her a little bit, that, a little bit, not too much, but
Yeah.
just tell her the truth.
Yeah.
And so yeah, so I think, I would have been a little bit more encouraging about telling children the truth, a little earlier in life.
Well, and what a great way to use your experience to use words to help people. We don't need to tell them every inch of what's going to happen in the procedure, but let's let them know that they're going to have a procedure.
Mm, yeah, yeah,
So good.
exactly. Yeah, because they're very traumatized, and it's very frightening sometimes for children when they wake up, if they don't know what's
Oh,
happening. Yeah.
I
So
remember when my youngest son had his tonsils out, he said to me, "Mom, that dentist did terrible things to me." And when I went and told the ENT specialist that Luke said that dentist did mean things to me. That's what he did, mean things to me. The ENT got his nose a little out of joint that he was being referred to as a dentist. I was like, the child is 3 years old. He's just talking about what his experience was like. So,
definitely. Yeah.
um, yeah, it's a scary thing to go through, things like that.
Mhm.
So, I wanna thank you for your book because it was a beautiful book. I so enjoyed reading it. I love your message, I highlighted things in it, we need community, we need connection. And I'm just wondering, as you talk about your journey and you think back on your life, what has community and connection done for you?
Gosh, I think it's probably everywhere. It's where you find your cheerleaders. You know, whether it's, your small community in your family, or your neighbors or your like-minded people. I had my community of colleagues in my, people who understand, like there's a community of anesthetists who understand what it's like to be an anesthetist. And we
Yeah.
don't necessarily share the same concerns as you have if you're an ENT specialist, we'll say.
Right, right.
They're slightly different. So community kind of maybe understand you. And then when you self-select communities, when you self-select maybe the entrepreneurial community, I'd be very involved now, maybe the writers community, or just involved in different kind of communities where you can listen to maybe kind of wider just wider kind of opinions. And I like to blend between communities. I don't like to stay in any one.
Yeah.
I like to,
Because
eavesdrop.
every community kind of brings its own
Very
special sauce, right?
Exactly, exactly. And at particular times in your life, you might be participating in one, so maybe you're in the choir, or, if you're in the acting community, or you're in, like breaking into the writing community, we'll say for me was quite, interesting because, and now in the speaking community, it's like, oh my God, there's a whole lot of speakers out there as well. There's lots of people doing lots of different things. And, there's peacekeeping, there's political, like there's a whole load of things. So yes, I think communities are everywhere, and it's like tapping into, it's just really a collection of people who are, kind of in community, in communication about something, that means something that's important to people.
So, so as we wrap up our time together today, I'm wondering if there's any message that I didn't ask you about, or anything about your journey and the and and your new sort of commitment to waking people up, that you want to be able to share as we end our time.
Well, I'm on my almost completing the second book. And
Oh,
it's kind of like, all the things that maybe I really want to say. And again, it's the same thing. It's actually embrace the edge, what it's called. And it's like
oh, I like that.
life is bigger when you say yes. you know. And like even yesterday, I got an invitation to be a facilitator in a women's leadership group program community. And I'm like, oh, this is my opportunity to say yes. Like if I really want to go out there in the kind of the bigger world and make an even, a bigger impact, like on that public, on that public stage. So it's like that. It's just, yeah, just be willing to like, what would life be like really, like it's living a yes life. I know there's a whole lot of things about boundaries and no and all that kind of stuff. I get all of that. That's really important. But it's like when you're saying no to something, be clear what it is you're actually saying yes to.
Yes.
It's like, no, not thank you, that because of this. And then be this, what's that yes thing that's kind of bringing you forward into some maybe
Oh,
something brand new, who knows?
yes. Oh, I just love that message. And I know that, there's people listening who are in a place of maybe making a transition in their life, and maybe a little scared of what that transition might be, or have been wanting to do something, but keep putting the brakes on. And so, what's motivating you to put the brakes on? And if you were to say yes, what does that open up? I love, first of all, you have a skill for choosing beautiful titles, the courage to shine, find your voice and discover the healing power of your words. What a beautiful title. And then embrace the edge. Do you have your subtitle yet for that one?
Yeah, life is bigger when you say yes.
Oh my goodness. Look, I mean, oh, what yummy stuff you are doing now. And we can thank you for your 20 years in the medical field because obviously you impacted lives there left and right. But this turn in your road now and the beautiful things that you're doing, I want to thank you for that. I want to thank you for your time today, sharing your journey, sharing the courageous choices that you made to even be here now and speaking wherever you're speaking, sharing your written and spoken word. My conversation with Eileen is going to continue with in the Star Coach community. So be certain, if you haven't explored the Star Coach community, to understand what we do there at starcoachshow.com/community. We talked about the importance of community. If you want to know more about Eileen, the work she does, her book, be sure to check out the show notes at starcoachshow.com. And if you're watching us on YouTube, just grab those links right below this video. I continue my discussions with incredible people like Eileen every week. So watch us and subscribe wherever you're listening. Until next week, this is Meg Rentschler wishing you the very best for your success. Be kind to yourself, be kind to others. We're all here together trying to do the best we can do to hopefully make the world a better place. So thanks for being here with us. And Eileen, once again, thank you for bringing your journey to us today.
Well, certainly thank you for the invitation.